Today I am going to teach you 4.3. It's all about solving two-step equations. This will be the last new idea that you need to know for our quiz coming up on Monday. Our quiz on Monday is going to be over 4.1, 2, and 3. Now, yesterday I handed you a blue paper, and many of you have that out on your desk today, about words into math, okay? So there's a lot of words here: add, sum, increase by, together, more, plus, and. Those are always going to be adding words, okay, or plus words. There is one word over here that we don't always think of when we think of subtracting. Who could tell me which one of these words you wouldn't necessarily think that means to subtract? Jacoby. Okay, difference. I think that's one that a lot of times we don't think of. But if I say, what's the difference between 4 and 2? That means you want to subtract 4 minus 2, okay? We also had some other ones. Key thing I want you to really remember, if you ever see the word is, that's going to be an equal sign. And then remember, yesterday we talked about down at the very bottom, a number. If you ever see the words that say a number, you're going to put a variable there. Okay, so we're going to use those to help us for right now. Write the word sentence as an equation. This is what A says. 5 plus a number x is 20. Who would like to write that equation for me? Reagan, go ahead.
5 plus x equals 20.
Good job. 5 plus x equals 20. Problem B. The difference of a number m and 4 is -2. We just talked about this. Guys, when you see something that says the difference of, what will that be? What sign? Subtraction. Okay, so we're going to put subtraction there, or a minus, of a number m and 4. What do you think I should write first, the m or the 4? The m, very good. So this is going to be m minus 4. Who would like to finish it off for me? Jocelyn. Equals -2. Very good. Let's look at the final one. A number divided by 2 equals 5. Now here's the deal. A lot of times when we see divided by, we want to put this little division symbol. But I don't want to see a division symbol. Do you guys remember what I would like to see? A fraction bar. Very good. So we're going to put our fraction bar right here whenever it says a number. What are we going to put, class? X. Okay, we'll put a variable. X divided by what?
2.
Where should I put the 2? Underneath it. Very good. And then finally it says equals 5, so we're simply going to write equals 5. How many of you would say you feel pretty comfortable and confident with writing equations when I give you words like that? Okay? There will be a section just like that on your quiz on Monday and your test on Wednesday. Okay? Now if you would, please pull out your red pens, and I want you to write down these rules for me, please. All right, so these rules are going to be used whenever we're doing two-step equations. Yesterday I taught you about adding and subtracting. In your flipped classroom you learned about multiplying and dividing, but today we're going to combine those two things. So one thing I want you to know, first off, you will always add or subtract. Next, then you will multiply or divide. And finally, read me what this sentence says. Go ahead. Never move the number attached to the variable first. Look at my problem down here. 3x plus 6 equals 12. What number is attached to the variable? 3. Now here's the deal. I want you to take your red pen and put a heart around the 3x. Those two are best friends. They like to stick together as long as possible. How many of you have a best friend? And maybe you've said, Mom, can they just stay over a little bit longer? You want your best friend to stay as long as possible. So the best friend will stay together as long as possible. If you remember yesterday, we talked about this was the left of the equal sign and this was the right of the equal sign. Class, what is not allowing the variable to be alone?
3.
Now, here's the deal. I don't want you just to say 3. If you see, I put some words up here. I want you to tell me whether it's add by, subtract by, multiply by, or divide by 3. What's not letting it be alone? Multiply by 3. Very good, because if you remember, when you have a number next to a letter, that means to multiply. Now, multiply by 3 is not the only thing that's not letting it be alone. Who else is also not letting it be alone? Use these words up here. Add by 6, okay? Also, this right here, the add by 6 is not letting it be alone. So today we're going to talk about how there are two separate steps we have to do in order to get the variable by itself. So let's look at our first example today. 2x plus 12 equals 4. Does anyone see who the variable's best friend is?
2.
What about the 2?
Subtract by 2.
Multiply by 2. Remember, when there's a number next to a letter, that means to multiply. So those two are best friends. So I want you to take your red pen and put a heart around them. That means don't touch the multiply by 2 yet. According to our rule, what does Rule A say to do first, class? Add or subtract. I want to get rid of the add by 12. In order to do that, what's the opposite or the inverse operation?
Subtract.
Subtract by 12. Very good. So let's subtract by 12 on the left side. And remember the rule, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So now we've got this big subtraction problem. First things first, drop down your equal sign. Yesterday in the flipped classroom and in class, I really tried to teach you about trying to keep those equal signs lined up and looking neat, okay? On the left side, MJ, what happens to plus 12 and minus 12? They cancel out. And on the left side, you can see the best friends are still together, 2x. Now let's focus on the right side. Autumn, what is 4 minus 12? Negative 8 is correct. Am I finished with my problem? No. Notice, the best friend is still there, but it is time for the best friend to leave. Multiply by 2 must go home. What is the opposite of multiply by 2?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. And remember, in our class, we're going to use a fraction bar to say divide by 2. To Kobe, what is 2x divided by 2?
4x.
Not 4x, I'm dividing. 2 divided by 2. 1x, very good. So this cancels out and I'm left with 1x, or just plain old x. To Kobe, negative 8 divided by 2. What is that answer?
That would be negative 4.
Negative 4 is correct. Box it in, that is our answer. Now we've talked about how to check. Remember, in order to check, we're going to take this original problem and rewrite it. First things first, I'm going to drop down my equal sign. And then we'll write 2x plus 12 equals 4. Reagan Stevens, we have learned what x is. What is x? Negative 4. So I am going to erase this, and instead I will put a negative 4. Class, should I just write it just like that, negative 4? No. What does it mean when a number's next to a letter? Multiply. So we want to put some parentheses there. Abby, what is 2 times negative 4?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 is correct. Then I'm going to drop everything else down. Plus 12 equals 4. We're just trying to check this. Autumn, what is negative 8 plus 12?
4.
4 is correct. Class, does 4 equal 4?
Yes.
Give yourself a mini check mark because it did check out. All right, Luke, do you see who the variable's best friend is?
3.
What about the 3?
Sorry. Multiply by 3.
Not just by 3, but multiply by
Negative.
negative 3, okay? So we're going to keep that there as long as we can. Everyone take your red pen, put a red heart around, because once again, that's just showing us and reminding us that negative 3 and the x are best friends. So don't touch the best friends yet. Maddie, what else is not allowing the x to be by itself? Add by 5. How do I get rid of add by 5? What's the opposite? Okay, we're going to do the inverse operation. What's the inverse operation of add by 5? Subtract by 5. And remember, class, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. Very good job. Let's drop down that equal sign. Let's focus on the left side. Jonathan, what is 2 minus 5? Negative 3 is correct. Reagan, what happens to positive 5 and negative 5? It becomes just a 0, so it cancels out. And I'm going to drop down that negative 3x. Jocelyn, is our x all alone by itself? No. What is not allowing the x to be alone? Multiply by negative 3. How do I get rid of multiply by negative 3? You divide by Good job. You have to divide by the exact thing that's there that I want to get rid of. Okay? Ellie, what is negative 3 divided by negative 3? 1. Very good. Drop down that equal sign. Ellie, what is negative 3x divided by negative 3? 1x, okay? And I'm just going to put regular old x. So this is our answer. 1 equals x. Jace, how do I check a problem like this? Okay, we have to rewrite the original problem. I'll drop down that equals sign. 2 equals negative 3x plus 5. We know what x is, so I'm going to erase it and instead put multiply by 1. Okay, let's drop down the equal sign. Let's focus on this. Nasir, what is negative 3 times 1? Very good. Negative 3 plus 5. Jace, let's focus on this side over here. What is negative 3 plus 5? Nope, same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract and take. Okay, take the sign of the larger number. What's larger? Positive 2, very good. Class, does 2 equal 2?
Yes.
Yes, give yourself a mini check mark because it did check out. All right, looking at problem C. Reagan, what is the variable? M, to Kobe, does M have a best friend?
Yes.
Yes, who's his best friend?
2.
What about the 2?
That it's paired with the M.
Okay, so am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing that 2?
You're going to divide by.
I am going to divide by 2. So let's give him a heart showing us it's a best friend. It's going to be a tall, skinny heart. Okay, so keep that divide by 2 with it as long as you possibly can. MJ, what should I get rid of first so the M can be all by itself? Remember, this is our equal sign. We're trying to get the M over here by itself. So what do I need to get rid of? Okay, what about the 6?
Add by negative 6.
Okay, we're going to add by 6. So the opposite or the inverse operation means we have to subtract 6. We're going to be fair and do it to both sides. Let's drop down our equal sign. MJ, what happens to this plus 6 and minus 6?
They cancel out.
They cancel out. What are you left with over here on the left side?
M divided by 2.
M divided by 2. Autumn, what is this answer on the right?
4.
4 is correct. Are we finished? No, I still want the M to be alone. Ellie, what is not allowing the M to be all by himself? Okay, divide by 2, so I have to multiply by 2 to get rid of it. I'm going to multiply by 2 on the left side, and I have to be fair and multiply by 2 on the right side. Abby, what happens over here? M times 2 divided by 2. It cancels out, and what are you left with on the left side?
M
Equals
equals
8. Very good. Everyone box that in. Luke, how do I check that?
Did you rewrite the original problem?
Very good. We'll rewrite the original problem. M divided by 2 plus 6 equals 10. Luke, what do I do now?
You work it out. So, well, sorry. You we know what the M equals. It equals 8. So you erase the M and you put in the 8,
Excellent.
and then so you divide the 8 into 2 and you get 4. And 4 plus 6 is 10. So you put the 10 and then equals 10, and that's it checked out because of it.
All right, very good. And it did check out. Okay, so there's a new idea that we have actually talked about before in chapter 3, but I want to remind you of it. We're going to always combine the like terms before solving, okay? So you can see like terms in problem D. What are my 2 like terms, class? 3y and negative 8y. Okay, those are both a part of what family? The y family. So we're going to combine those. Class, what is 3y minus 8y? Negative 5y. Good job, guys. So let's write that down. Now we have what looks like a much more simple problem like we had yesterday. But remember, the whole goal when we're doing things like this is to get the variable by itself. Class, what's not allowing the variable to be by itself? What about the -5?
Subtract by.
That is not subtract by -5. Guys, what does it mean when a number is next to a letter? Multiply by -5. So guys, how do I get rid of multiply by -5? You divide by -5. And remember, we use a fraction bar to help us know we're going to divide by -5. Jace, what is -5y divided by -5? Y, okay? These just cancel out. They equal 1y, and he just says y. Now, Sierra, what is 25 divided by -5? -5. That is our answer, so we're going to box it in. Autumn, how do I check that?
You rewrite the original problem.
Very good. So let's drop down the equal sign first. We have 3y minus 8y equals 25. We know what the y's are, so we are going to replace them with a -5. Should I just slip the -5s in like that, class?
No.
What should I do with them? Put parentheses, because that tells me I have to multiply. Who would like to help me with this part? Jonathan, what is 3 times -5? -15. Now let's focus on this. What is -8 times -5? Not -40. +40. All right, so Jonathan, let's think about this. Do we have same sign or different sign right here? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract, okay? So you want to subtract and then take the sign of the larger number. So Jonathan, what is -15 plus 40? 25. Class, does 25 equal 25?
Yes.
Give yourself a mini check mark. All right, let's look at problem E. Is there anything that I need to combine that is like terms? The 4 and the 3. Everybody underline the 4 and the 3, and then we'll circle this 2y. What should always go first, the variable term or the constants?
Variable term.
Variable term. So let's bring down the 2y. And now I want you guys to combine these two. What would that be if you combined them? 7. Is that a positive or a -7?
Positive.
Very good. +7. Now the problem looks a little bit more simplistic because we have combined the like terms. The y is not by itself. First off, he has a best friend with him. Who's his best friend? 2. Multiply by 2. So take your red pens. I want you to draw a heart. This is just helping us to remember. Keep the 2 there as long as possible. Abby, what should I do next?
Then you should get the +7.
Okay, let's get rid of the add by 7. How do I get rid of add by 7?
Subtract by 7.
Very good. We use an inverse operation. We're going to subtract by 7 on both sides. This cancels out, and I'm left with 2y equals, Abby, what is this answer?
116.
This is we're adding and subtracting.
Then 2.
Same sign or different sign? Same sign, add and keep. Add the numbers, keep the sign.
Negative.
Add the numbers.
What? Alright, you gotta confuse me.
All right, yes, -16, okay? So we just got to be careful. On this case, it would only be a positive if we were multiplying those together, but we were adding them, so we want to add the numbers and keep the sign. Luke, what should I do to get y by itself?
Divide by 2.
Okay, very good. We're going to divide by 2 on both sides. So we now are left with y equals, class, what is -16 divided by 2?
Negative 8.
-8 is correct. Okay, because we only had one negative sign there. That's an odd number of negatives. Okay, let's go ahead and check this. We're going to rewrite that original problem. So let's put the equal sign first. And we've got 4 plus 2y plus 3 equals -9. MJ, what am I going to plug in for that y? Look to see what is our answer right here.
-8.
Negative 8. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that multiply by y, and instead I am going to multiply by negative 8. Okay, so bring down the 4. Everybody, let's focus on this right here. We are going to add, what is 2 times negative 8, class? Negative 16. We don't really love having double signs, plus, minus, side by side, so which one can I eliminate? I can get rid of the plus sign, so I'm just going to erase it. And then I'll bring down plus 3 equals negative 9. Now let's focus on the positives over here. What are my 2 positive numbers on the left side? 4 and 3. Guys, if you combine 4 and 3, what do you get? 7. So I'm going to have 7 minus 16 equals negative 9. Let's look at this. What is 7 minus 16? Negative 9 is correct. Class, does negative 9 equal negative 9?
Yes.
Yes, that means it did check out. Give yourself a mini check mark. Okay. How many of you guys love doing problems with fractions? How many of you would rather have whole numbers? Most people would rather have whole numbers. So I'm going to teach you something cool today. If you haven't done it yet, take your red pen and I want you to fill in the blank. It says you can eliminate fractions. That means we can get rid of fractions before solving. So here's how you would do it. You're going to look for the biggest denominator. Guys, what's the biggest denominator there? 8, okay? So here's what we have to see. Can the 2's fit into an 8, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. If that is the case, that means this 8 right here is our LCD, or our least common denominator. If you can find an LCD, then you're allowed to get rid of these fractions. So here's what I can do. Guys, what's the opposite of divide by 8? Multiply by 8. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply this by 8 so I can get rid of that divide by 8. But I have to be fair. So if I do that to the first term, guess what? I've got to do it to all the rest of them. Multiply by 8. So now let's just focus on this first part right here. Guys, what do you think happens to the 8 divided by 8?
Cancels out.
It cancels out. We eliminated it. Now, this one's not as easy. I can't eliminate it. But can I cross-reduce an 8 and a 2?
Yes.
What do they become? 1 and 4. How about over here? Could I cross-reduce that 8 and 2? Yeah, what do those become? 1 and 4. So now you can see the magic happen. Let's look at this first. What do you think happens there? What am I left with? Just plain old x. Bring down your minus sign. Now let's focus on this. What does that become? A 4. Okay, I have 1 times 4 divided by 1. 4. Drop down your equal sign. Let's focus on this. It looks like I have negative 7 times 4 divided by 1. What is that, class?
Negative 28.
Negative 28. How many of you would say this looks a lot happier than this big old mess? It means the same exact thing. All we did was eliminate our fractions or eliminate our denominators. So now we have a normal looking problem. Guys, what's not allowing the x to be alone?
4. Negative. Subtract by 4.
Subtract by 4. How do I get rid of subtract by 4?
Add by 4.
Add by 4. What you do to one side?
Yes.
You've got to be fair and do it to the other side. So I am left with x equals, class, what's negative 28 plus 4?
Negative 24.
Negative 24 is correct. All right, and we are not going to check this one today. All right, so next up we have a think, pair, share section. This looks very similar to what we have done today. I want you guys to try to do number 1 on your own. All right, so looking at this, we've talked about it. We know that 4 and x are best friends, okay? So I have to get rid of the positive 5 by subtracting 5. I am left with 4x equals negative 2. Now I have to divide by 4. This is where a lot of people made their mistake, and they said that this would equal negative 2, but it doesn't. Look, negative 2 divided by 4. Is the answer going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
It's going to be negative because you can see the negative sign right there. Let's just focus now on the 2/4. Can 2/4 be reduced? What does it reduce to? 1/2. So a lot of people said 4 divided by 2, but guys, that says 2 divided by 4. So the correct answer would be -1/2. All right, for the final question, it says, are the equations 3x plus 12 equals 6 and -2 equals 4 minus 3x equivalent? Remind me again, guys, what does equivalent mean? Equal or the same. Okay, so let's start with the very first one. 3x plus 12 equals 6. What should I do? Who can help me with this? Jonathan, what do I do? Very good. Yes, these are best friends, so we're going to keep the 3 and x together. Good job. We'll subtract by 12 on both sides. This cancels out. We're left with 3x equals, Jonathan, what's 6 minus 12? -6. How do I get that x by itself? Divide by 3 on both sides. And when you do that, what do you get? What is -6 divided by 3? Not -3. What is it, class? -2. All right, so that's the first answer. Now it's asking, is it equivalent to this one right here? So let's write that off to the side. -2 equals 4 minus 3x. Okay, in this case, the -3x is the best friend. Keep it together as long as possible. I've got to get rid of that 4. That 4, is that 4 a positive 4 or a -4? Positive. So the opposite of add by 4 would be subtract by 4. So I'm going to subtract by 4 on both sides. Drop down that equal sign. Reagan, what is -2 minus 4?
-2 minus 4, positive 6.
Okay, think about if you have a number line, okay, and this is, let's say this is 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, sorry, -6. If I am already at -2 and it asks you to subtract 4 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, where do you end up? -6, okay? So be careful. I think we're starting to kind of confuse some of those rules. Same sign, add and keep, add the numbers, keep the sign, okay? This cancels out, and I'm left with -3x. Autumn, what should I do to get the x by itself?
Add by 3.
What does it mean when a number is right next to a letter?
Divide by 3.
Divide by -3. Okay, so if you're trying to get rid of this -3 right here, you have to divide by exactly that same integer, okay? So this cancels out, and we're left with x equals, class, what does x equal? 2. So here's the question. Are they equivalent? And explain your answer. No. Okay, -2 and +2 are not equivalent. That means they're not the same thing. All right, are there any questions about how we did that? All right, so tonight for homework, I want you to go ahead and label your paper. It is 4.2, and it is 9 problems tonight for homework on the Big Ideas Math website.